Now, welcome back to the newspaper review. Before we delve into the business of the day today by taking a look at what's happening on the front pages of newspaper, let's quickly have a conversation with one of our guests this morning to discuss issues of the airport invasion by terrorists in Kaduna State. And joining us this morning is High Chief Umoru Darlington. He joins us via phone call. Good morning, Chief Darlington, and welcome to the newspaper review. Hello, Chief Darlington. Good morning. Good morning, Chief Darlington, and welcome to the newspaper review. Okay, I guess he will join us in the course of the review this morning. Now, let's go straight to stories making the rounds on front page of the Punch newspaper. You have there the National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress, and the caption says the APC inaugurates appeal panel on Tuesday as the People's Democratic Party, PDP, says Adamu has fraud charges to answer to. Still on the front page of the Punch newspaper, on top of the front page, the front page of the Punch newspaper, you have it there. Nigerians spend $39.66 billion on foreign education and medical tourism, says the Central Bank of Nigeria. State governments or state governors sink deeper as the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited plans 328 billion naira deduction in April. And the writer to that story says January, February fuel subsidy payment hit for 130 billion naira. Yes, we have the security expert and security consultant, High Chief Darlington Umoru joins us via phone call. Good morning, Chief Darlington.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
I'm very fine. Welcome to the newspaper review this morning.
Great.
Yes. Chief Darlington, yet again, Nigeria has recorded another security breach, and this time it was an international airport in Kaduna State. Insurgents numbering over 200 said to have attacked that airport and prevented flights from going out. What's your take on this?
Well, to me, it is alarming the level at which insecurity is getting. Getting close to 2023 is taking another dimension. Kaduna State has been in the news, not on the positive side, on the negative side for some time. And virtually on daily basis, we read stories of kidnap in Kaduna. The daredevil terrorists, as they are now branded, talking about the bandits, they are taking the government on, and they are telling the security agencies that they have all it takes to do whatever they could do, to ground, to bring Kaduna to a halt. Activities in Kaduna for some time is almost being grounded, particularly by virtue of the activities of these men. Don't forget that last year they went into the Nigerian Defense Academy. They did not only kill military personnel, they also took away a very senior officer. But to God be the glory, the military, who have always been up and doing, insisted that they were not going to negotiate, that it is not within the purview of the military to negotiate with terrorists to have their men or man released. They went all out after the terrorists got their man released and destroyed a lot of facilities that belong to the terrorists. Today, what we are hearing, they are taking that beyond attacking military facilities to a gateway that's talking about the airport in Kaduna. Don't forget that they had really made the corridor between Kaduna and Abuja uninteresting. Most people find it difficult now going by road. The alternative the government provided, which is the train, is being jam-packed. If you want to move from Kaduna to Abuja now, via the train. You have to take a long queue and spend a lot of time before you could get tickets to move on to Abuja. Now, that is to tell you that the craziness of these men, these terrorists, is almost overwhelming Kaduna State, as it were. Right now, they went to the airport twice. They went the first time, they were repelled. The military came in, they were repelled. And they went back thinking that people thought that they had been repelled and that they had gone back to their share, only to regroup after and then resurface and then come in a bang. About 200 men at the same time, terrorists invading the Kaduna airport. You know what that means, to the extent that, I don't know if you've visited Kaduna, if you've used that facility at all. I've used it severally. And if you look at it, it's not a very large facility, talking about the facility in itself. And then if you have 200 men invading it, that's why you have some of them on the tarmac that prevented the Asma flight, the 12:30 Asma flight that was supposed to return to Lagos that was already on tarmac. Even if they had not taken over the tarmac, the runway of the aircraft, at the point they invaded that place with the sporadic shooting, apparently all airlines aircraft would have been grounded. It wouldn't have been possible for any aircraft to take off. You know the risk involved? Peradventure, if that aircraft was fully loaded. Yes.
Please, let me interrupt you here. Now, let's look at the wherewithal or the strength of the Nigerian military to curtail or curb these terrorists. Of course, the adventures and the quests, the fights that the exploits that the Nigerian military has done, not only in time past, stands equal to some of the military across the globe. Why is it looking so difficult for the Nigerian military to take out and completely put into extinction the insurgents and the bandits that are bedeviling the country? Why does it look so difficult?
Well, I don't think it's difficult. Don't forget that the Nigerian military, they have the order in which they operate. Don't forget that the same Nigerian military are called into virtually every aspect of insecurity in this country. Be it communal clashes, you bring in the military. Be it armed robbery incidents, you bring in the military. Be it kidnapping, you bring in the military. Be it terrorism, you bring in the military. Be it policing, manning of roadblocks, you bring in the military.
If that's the case, Chief Darlington, is that the case? That means there is this suggestion that the military seems to be overwhelmed. Why is the nation, the National Assembly?
That theory is wrong.
That statement is not coming from me. Honorable Chief Darlington, that statement is not coming from me. It's coming from Nigerians. In fact, there was some time ago.
I said that theory. That's why I said it's a theory. I said that theory is absolutely wrong.
Okay.
I think the right word you wanted to make use of is that the military is overstretched.
Okay.
Do you know what it is if you say the military is overwhelmed? It meant that security will completely be collapsed. You couldn't have been talking from that point, that place you are talking from. I couldn't have been talking from where I am talking from right now if you say the military are overwhelmed.
Okay, Chief Darlington,
I think the right word
is overstretched.
Let me correct this.
Okay.
The right word is that the military, by virtue of my explanation earlier, you would even see that the military has been overstretched. What is the strength? Now, the military, they are employing, as I speak with you now, they have opened a platform for another employment for people into the direct service corps, for people again to be employed. The military is overstretched because the military, beyond their statutory recommendation, beyond their statutory recommendation by the Constitution, what they were supposed to be doing, they are supposed to man your territorial areas and then protect you from external aggression. But because they are terrorists, they are being drafted to handle terrorism. But even so, the country has gone beyond drafting the military to just tackle terrorism. This is the point.
Okay, Chief Darlington, if that's the case, and there's this tendency that the military has been overstretched, why is the country or the government of the day not looking at what has been raised times without number, the issue of state police, and how to use this to complement the efforts of the security agents in tackling this menace of insecurity?
Well, I think what happened in Kaduna, you wouldn't say they were not tackled. If they were not tackled, they would have taken over.
Okay, I'm speaking generally now.
You know, you mentioned the airport. If you're talking about the airport, and the focus basically is the airport now.
Okay.
Because the terrorists hitting the airport is a very gruesome issue. It's a very serious matter, my brother. And so if the military, like I said initially, when they invaded, apparently the military were signaled, and then they came to the rescue of the airport. They repelled them. Are you okay?
Okay.
But by the time, like I said initially from reports, by the time they were repelled, they went back, and people thought they had retreated and they had gone away. But only for them to resurface with a larger number. But even so, they were still contained by the Nigerian military.
Yes,
so which means that we must give kudos to these people and encourage them to do more.
Yes, we should. Chief Darlington, would you go with the advocates of state police?
Well, state policing exists in some other parts of the world. And then where you have state police, you have your reasons is to bring policing to grassroots level. That is the essence of it. We should understand it basically. What is state police supposed to be for? At the level of our growth, particularly with democracy and the way we abuse democracy, would you say state police will not be abused if approved?
But
would you say that state police that will be under the state and the control of state governors will not be abused at electioneering processes, at electioneering time? It is in this country you and I have seen that police, the SPUs, the special protection units of police that are given to individuals, companies, and some facilities to monitor them because they are specially trained to do that, to defend the dignitaries, the VIPs, the VVIPs. We have seen how some Nigerians have continually abused it. Of late, you saw when the IG instructed that a policeman who was noticed carrying food at an event for somebody he was supposed to be defending, he had to carry the food of that person to the table. But eventually, if there was an issue, what would have happened? We have also seen the abuse when you go to airport or you go to special events. You see policemen who are meant to, defend these persons, carrying the bags, carrying their shoes, carrying their files, holding their phones, and doing what ordinarily is not supposed to be what they were meant to do.
Okay, Chief Darlington.
Before I go, the fear on that issue, the fear is that at this point, if you approve state policing, it is wonderful. It's going to help security. But when you weigh that, place that vis-a-vis the abuse and what these people are likely going to use them for, talking about abuse, during electioneering processes. My brother, I do not think Nigeria is actually completely right for state policing at the moment.
Okay, Chief Darlington, I would have continued with this discussion with you, but unfortunately, or fortunately rather, we'll have to go. Thank you for your time this morning, Chief Darlington.
To God be the glory. But for the Kaduna case, before we go finally, the Kaduna state issue, I want to call on the federal government at this point in time to begin to look at how they can bring about a state of emergency in that state.
Okay.
Apparently, issues have gone beyond the control of the state governor and his executive members. I think if you declare a state of emergency in Kaduna State, where you hand over that state to perhaps the military, apparently this insecurity will be reduced from the level at which it is. It is because it has become a total menace.
Okay. Chief Darlington, security expert and consultant who joins us via phone call this morning. Thank you very much for your time, Chief Darlington.
Thank you very much. Pleasure any day, anytime.
Thank you.
We'll always be there for you.
Okay. Thank you.